So this next topic that I want to discuss is Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is always seeming to be a vital part of these discussions. And like I said before, Seth Rollins is one of my favorite wrestlers when it all boils down to it. So that's the reason why, for me, I always seem to be critical of everything going on with his storyline, because this man has been at the top of this company for too long for the WWE to continue to drop the ball and fumble at the 1 yard line, because every week that's essentially what's going on. They're almost about to score and get a touchdown with Seth Rollins, but they always fumble at the 1 yard line. Right when they're about to get it, they don't know how to hold on to the momentum. So I've already gave one solution as to how I would fix that group, how I would fix the group with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker. So make sure y'all go check out my previous episode to see my solution to that. On this episode, I decided just to do something for extra credit. I decided just to give a bonus scenario for Seth Rollins, because again, I feel like this is just not that hard to put together great feuds and great stables with the type of talent we have at WWE. So Seth Rollins being one of my favorite wrestlers, I got backup plans. I got contingency plans for what I feel like his storylines need to be. And that's why I get so irritated with WWE, because again, you only got a couple of top stars. The top stars have to get the best storylines. So anyway, I felt like Seth Rollins didn't even need Paul Heyman or Braun Breaker, to be perfectly honest with you. Now that everything has come to fruition and the smoke has settled, now that I'm looking at everything, it almost seems like putting Paul Heyman with Seth Rollins was a desperation move in itself. And I didn't feel that way at first. And if you guys saw my episode leading up to WrestleMania, I predicted that might be a way that they go. I suggested that might be a way they go. And if they went that way, I would be happy. I would be happy for that direction. And I would just sit back and let it play out. But I couldn't sit back and let it play out, because it lost the energy almost instantly. And now, some weeks into it, I don't think that was even the right pairing now. At the moment, it was the shock value of it. It was the fact that it was just something different. And again, I'm a big component in originality. So the fact that it was just something different when Paul Heyman left Roman Reigns and CM Punk, and then it just happened to be with the wrestler that I consider one of the best wrestlers, I was on board. I was on board for that. But again, now that the smoke is settled and we've been able to sleep on it, I'm starting to really think that was a desperation move in itself for Seth Rollins, because we know the caliber of character that Paul Heyman is. And we know that when you put people with Paul Heyman, 80% of the time, you're going to go to a new level and the next level. So this almost now seems like a desperation to try to figure out how to get Seth Rollins to superstardom. But you didn't need Paul Heyman to do that. So it shouldn't have been desperation. My second solution to fixing the Seth Rollins problem would be to put him with Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross could also be a guy that you pair Seth Rollins with to make sure that both guys become superstars. Not only should they put Seth Rollins with Karrion Kross, they should have put Seth Rollins with the Final Testament. The Final Testament composed of Karrion Kross with AOP. If you all remember, Seth Rollins had AOP on his team at one point. That actually was my favorite storyline with Seth Rollins, when he was the Monday Night Messiah and he had Buddy Matthews along with AOP. That again is another group that was just wasted. All the potential of that group was just wasted. And they had all of the components that I thought you needed. And in that moment, Seth Rollins looked like the superstar I thought he could be. But right on time, as usual, the WWE likes to pull the plug when they're starting to get some real traction, just when a group is organically starting to get to another level. And it's a shame and it's disappointing. The Monday Night Messiah character with AOP and Buddy Matthews, they had a lot of potential, and in the beginning, we were seeing a lot of original things that we hadn't seen before. And with Seth Rollins, he was looking like the star that he was meant to be. and AOP was enforcing his will. So I never felt like that group should have been broken up. So now you would have had a chance to fix that. Not only would you put Seth Rollins back with AOP, but now you would have added Karrion Kross to this dynamic. And now you get one of the most legitimate threats you could have in the WWE. For the fans of Karrion Kross, a lot of us thought that the Final Testament could have had potential. I'm not even going to go down that road. The fact is, it was a simple fix to that problem. You could have added Seth Rollins to the Final Testament, and now both of those guys would have went places. And now we could have did something highly effective. A lot of the fans are already disappointed at the lack of time Karrion Kross has been on TV. The lack of matches and quality matches that Karrion Kross gets. So even the fans themselves are pissed off about that. And I'm one of those fans because Karrion Kross has all the potential in the world. And he shows us that on his own time. When he's not on WWE TV, he shows us the star that he could be on his own social media. So shout out to Karrion Kross for putting in the work and not letting the company get in the way of him building up his character. And those are the type of things that I respect both as a man and as a true fan. You just go out and get yours. It don't matter what's going on or what anybody else is doing. You take care of your business. And Karrion Kross has been doing that like a true competitor. So one way or another, we know that he will be rewarded. We already locked into this thing with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman. You know my fix to that problem is. But in another world, in another reality, me personally, I would have put Seth Rollins with the Final Testament. I wouldn't have brought Paul Ellery back. Shout out to Paul. He's a legend. He didn't need to be a part of this group. And we need to start seeing different managers or new managers. With the Final Testament, you didn't need a manager at all. You got Scarlett. Scarlett has always been the perfect counterpart to the Karrion Kross character. But with this group dynamic, I felt like we could see more from her. Because I love groups like the Horsemen. We've seen the version of the Horsemen that kept Miss Elizabeth with them. And that was one of my favorite versions of that group. Miss Elizabeth was playing both sides and you didn't know if she was good or bad. It's just something that I like about having one of the ladies with a stable. It's something about that I just like. This is how you could get heat on the group. You have one of the ladies that's doing all of the dirty work for the fellas. She's the one that's the integral part of the group. So Scarlett, her talent has always been underutilized in that company. Putting Seth Rollins in that equation would be able to show us different sides of Scarlett because now she will be inserted into big time matches. Now she will be inserted into main event situations. And now she could play a role more than what we've been seeing from her. And adding her to a group with Seth Rollins in it means that we can see her do things to benefit Seth Rollins. And I think that would be a good look for Seth and Scarlett. I think that we need to see that dynamic. Because the sky is the limit for what Scarlett could do. And if you're putting her in a role where she's helping the guy that's at the top of the company, there's no telling the type of character work that we can see come from that. It's no telling the type of stories that we can see from Seth Rollins and Karrion Kross moving forward with that group. You know, the WWE love to have their groups have problems with each other at some point. At some point, the group members always get into it with each other. So with that being said, this would set up nicely for a Seth Rollins and Karrion Kross feud somewhere down the line. Somewhere where you could have a storyline with Scarlett and she's torn between the two professionally. The same thing that they kind of did with Paul Heyman. Now we would see that momentum go to somebody that's trying to make a name for themselves. Now we would see that type of storyline being utilized to push a wrestler to a new level instead of giving that momentum to a guy that's already proven, which is Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman could do no wrong and he could do no more. He's already solidified. So wouldn't it be nice to see those type of storylines that we saw at WrestleMania in that triple threat match be used with wrestlers that's trying to make a name for themselves? It would give Karrion Kross and Scarlett the room they need to grow, as well as be inserted into important storylines. The same thing that's happening with Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker is being pushed into main event level spots now because of Seth Rollins. Well, hopefully he will, because I thought that was the point, but that remains to be seen. At least with Karrion Kross, we know that he has the fan base. We know that the fans are 100% behind Karrion Kross and his potential in the company. So Seth Rollins would be the perfect component. Seth Rollins would be the perfect teammate for Karrion Kross. And I don't know if AOP is with the company now because, WWE, they steady bringing people back and letting them go. If AOP is still with the company, put all four of these guys together. You could call them the Final Testament, call them whatever you want. It don't even matter. Seth Rollins, Karrion Kross, AOP is money. Is money, and you heard it here on Worldwide Classic. Yo, what's going on with it? I'm Southside Tre. Appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Full Time Digital House, and follow me on Instagram, Southside_Tre.